Today, the 28th of September, marks the commencement of political campaigns for the 2023 elections across the country, in line with the provisions of the new electoral law. Nigeria's electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), has recently cautioned the 18 political parties to familiarize themselves with the do's and don'ts as encapsulated in the law to avoid being caught on its wrong side, as they said to roll out their manifestos to Nigerians with a view to woo them and secure their mandates in the 2023 elections. 18 political parties and their candidates will be slugging it out on the election day to secure the mandate of the people, including the nation's top job, talking about the presidency. However, it appears not all the political parties are prepared for the campaign season, as quite a number of them are yet to inaugurate their campaign councils. The ruling All Progressives Congress, which was hitherto expected to commence its campaigns today, postponed it indefinitely, reportedly to accommodate more stakeholders in the campaign council. Despite its seeming unending internal acrimony, the People's Democratic Party managed to inaugurate its presidential campaign council earlier today. Take a look. It was a two-in-one event meant to capture the life and times, legal battles, disposition or restructuring of the PDP presidential candidate coming on the sidelines of the inauguration of the party's campaign council.
There is no other better time than now for Nigerians to know about you.
But beyond these formalities, the PDP is kickstarting its presidential campaign anchored on the premise of rescuing Nigeria, a country the party governed for 16 years until the electorate voted it out in 2015.
All of us are going to hit the ground running, and we shall work collectively as a family and expeditiously to ensure the victory of our party.
To build a strong and effective democratic government where the safety and security of our people and their property is our primary and singularly most important responsibility.
The event also exposed the deepening acrimony that led to the pullout of some critical stakeholders, including a vice chairman south of the party's campaign council and Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. Their strategic absence could be seen as a setback to the relentless efforts of the party's presidential flag bearer to pacify the aggrieved members. Hello and welcome to Daily Politics and Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Tonight, we'll be discussing Nigerians' expectations as the country officially enters the 2023 campaign season. And we are joined in the studio by Mohammed Bulama, a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Also joining us is the Deputy National Organizing Secretary of the Labour Party, Prince Kennedy Ahanotu. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Deputy National Secretary of Labour Party.
Thank you for that correction.
Yes.
And now to complete the picture, we have Dr. Ahmed Adamu, a member of the PDP and Special Advisor to Atiku Abubakar on Youth and Strategy. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's go straight into our conversation. And perhaps let me start with you. The fact that we're just coming, out of this event where your party inaugurated its presidential campaign council. Well, what do you hope to achieve with this? Perhaps some look at the swift, nature at which this campaign council was constituted and, of course, inaugurated, in spite of the internal acrimonies that seems to have been, drawing back the party. But it's still manifested even today. We've seen, the breakaway group, so to speak, talking about the Wiki and his co-travelers, let's put it that way, absent in this event. Why does the party decide, to go ahead with this in spite of this challenge?
Well, because we are ready to win the election and we don't have time to spend, because we have 5 months to the election and every minute counts. The clock is ticking. So we don't have to wait for anybody. And it shows our readiness, our commitment. Despite our challenges, we still want to move ahead. And this is the party that is ready to lead this country. If we cannot manage to integrate our campaign council, then we are not ready to fix Nigeria's problems. At this very serious and troubling time and trying time in Nigeria, we need a decisive party, a decisive leader. Despite challenges, we have to make a decision and you have to stick to it. And that's what PDP stands for. And from here you can see there's the difference. APC could not integrate their campaign council. Labour Party cannot do that. On the first day, we are the only ones that did it. We came first. In everything, we are the ones to do it. In primary election, we are the ones to do it. Inauguration of our campaign council, we are the first. We will be the first to win the election too. So we win the presidential election. So it shows our readiness.
Okay, from that optimistic angle, perhaps I will take on Mohamed Bulama. He is referring to a political party, the APC, which is on the saddle. Expectedly, Nigerians would have loved to see, APC setting the stage, happening to be, the party that is currently on the saddle. But that is not what we're seeing. It appears the party seems not to be organized, it has to suspend, if you like, indefinitely the inauguration of this campaign committee. What exactly is the problem?
Actually, there's no problem. As a matter of fact, if you think we have a crisis, I'll tell you that it's an opportunity for us. It only demonstrates to you how popular the APC is. We released a campaign council list of over 400 people, nearly 500 people. And yet the agitations, people really want to participate. People, Nigerians, are showing that they want to be part of this. They don't want to be left out. And as a party adept at organizing people, as a party that, 7 years ago, was so organized that we are able to defeat a party that was ruling and that was claiming that it's the largest party in Africa, so it just shows you our capacity, the fact that people want us. That's why now, because there are so many legitimate issues, people want to participate. And it's out of the question for us to say, we've had enough. The campaign is just starting. And we are ready to go. So
it is not a matter of lack of preparation.
Not at all.
7 years, you yet to put together a campaign council.
Yes.
Okay. Let me get Kennedy. Kennedy, while other political parties are making steps, like the PDP has, come up with the council and then inaugurated it today. The APC has had a council that is tinkering with, but it is yet to commence, yet to inaugurate this council. But in the case of your party, that is the Labour Party, you neither have the campaign council nor roll out your manifestos to Nigerians or set even a date, for the inauguration of the committee or the council. Are you really prepared, to take on Nigerians, or rather to reach out to Nigerians?
Well, thank you, my dear brother. In a race, there's what we call stamina race, a long race. The person that started first doesn't really count, but the ending of the race is what matters. That's by the way. Of course, Labour Party, you asked 2 questions. We are very much prepared in this election. And I want you to understand this. It's only here in this part of the world that we want to rush into things to do the show part of it. Campaigns are about strategies. And you need to get your strategies very right before you hit the wrong way. And that is why it takes a longer process for an aircraft to lift, because it has to go higher. So we don't have any challenge. The campaign council are in order. As a matter of fact, any moment from now, you will see the publication in the public domain.
That's for that. But secondly, you asked about our manifesto.
Yes, your blueprint. Do you really have one?
Labour Party is the only political party that has a documented manifesto. Okay. But as a matter of fact, the movement that we are enjoying today across the country, we are now bringing these interest bodies to have what we call campaign, our contract with Nigerians. It's going to be a document that is even the party manifesto, the Labour Charter. Every institutions that you know are bringing a memorandum into what we have, and that is why. So
you are still in the process of collation now. Is that what you're saying?
We are done with collation.
Ideas
we are done with collation. I told you that in matter of days, you will see many publications, including dates of flag off and inauguration of the campaign council.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Your candidate, your presidential candidate today, also unveil, if you like, or re-emphasize his 5-point agenda, talking about my covenant with Nigerians. I understand it was a blueprint that was tinkered, because of the prevailing situations in the country. He's talking about critical issues around security, around economy, and so on. And talking about, security, which he said is a fundamental responsibility of every government, and his government, if elected into power, will take seriously. He was talking about, unifying, uniting the country, on the basis of equity, fairness, and so on and so forth. But there has been also concerns around lack of unity even within the party, not to talk about the larger Nigerian. If you cannot unite the party at this point in time, what more if you are confronted with 200 million people?
Well, me, the party, and Atiku himself, we do not believe that elections will fix Nigeria's problems. And we do not believe electing an individual will fix Nigeria's problems. Electing Atiku, Tinubu, or B will not fix Nigeria's problem. If voting for an individual could fix Nigeria's problem, Nigeria's problems will have been overcome since 2015. And that is why we are not selling Atiku Abubakar as a person. We are selling the vision, the plans of Atiku Abubakar. And that's the goal we see. That's the vision. And that's the road that we are going. We don't care who is with us or not. We have to drive there. Whoever wants to join us will join us if he thinks that he's losing out. And when he sees us getting to the victory, everyone will fall in. Even from other political parties, you see people from APC, from Labour Party joining us because we are targeting our cause. We are targeting our destination. So we don't care about what people might think about our division. We have a focus, and that's where we are going.
So you're truly divided because you've been denying this all the while.
Because if you are closer to victory, that's what's going to happen. Because a lot of interest will come, and that's to show the strength and the power of the party. Have you ever seen this kind of rancor and issues in the smaller parties like Labour Party and NNPP? You didn't see this kind of issues because this is showing the strength, the spread of the party. And this is a sign that we are closer to the victory. And this is the sign. And because this election is not about the interests of a faction or the party itself, it's about Nigerians. So we don't look at the problems inside, we look at the interests of the country. Most of these politicians, they're fighting for themselves. But we have a candidate that is fighting for the people. And that's why this election, Nigerians have to be very careful because within the next 5 months, they have to make a decision, a far-reaching decision that will determine the survival of we, the people, and the country.
You're saying that you're not selling a candidate, rather a blueprint or a vision. But then people would have to drive this vision. And your presidential candidate happened to be the team lead, if you like, one who would lead the process of implementation, and yet is unable to unite the political party.
As a leader, your job is to craft the vision and then bring the team that will implement the vision, and you to supervise the implementation of the vision. So you don't expect Atiku Abubakar himself, because no one person can fix Nigeria. It's a teamwork. And that's what makes Atiku Abubakar unique. because he doesn't need to know you before he works with you. Once you have what it takes, you prove to him that you have the capacity, he'll bring you on board. He's not a bygone. He's not someone that is ruled by sentiment or ethnicity. And this is a time when we are deeply divided as a country. And we cannot afford to be further divided in this election. And that's why some candidates are leveraging the division we have in the country. And that's why I warn Nigerians that never vote for anyone that's coming on the flag of religion or on the flag of ethnicity. These people are leveraging the division we have in the country and further dividing us. And that's why we have Atiku Abubakar as a unifier, someone that will unify all these interests. Someone who is not doing it for himself. Okay. He's not doing it for his children.
Okay, Bulama, I'll come back to you because some will find that a little bit contradictory because, you know, opposition political parties are actually taking advantage or leveraging on some of these fault lines that we're talking about. We'll come back to that. But Bulama, your party, the APC, initially was also denying the fact that there are issues within the party internally. And then we're beginning to see these issues manifesting. Some say the delay in constituting, or inaugurating the campaign council has to do with the fact that some people have been left out, especially a very critical bloc talking about the governors now. They felt shortchanged, you know, in the process of constituting this council. How true is this? And if actually is the issue, how is the party or the presidential candidate approaching to resolve this issue?
Like I told you at the beginning, where you see crisis, we actually see opportunity. Actually, we don't have any crisis in the APC. It's very, very obvious. All our governors, 21 of them, I think. There are 22 at the moment, but maybe in about a month or two, there will be 21. All of them are united. They are supporting our candidate without any reservations. And the list that came out actually accommodated some of their nominees, but not all of them, you know, and they want more.
But your campaign DG is saying that the idea of delaying the inauguration is to accommodate more people.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The delay is on the account of the popularity of the campaign council. More people want to join, you know, and I think that's a legitimate aspiration. So we are saying that we can delay a bit to accommodate as many people and as many interests and tendencies as possible in the campaign council. That's not a crisis by any definition of the word. We don't have any crisis in the APC. And you know that yourself. We don't have a crisis.
Well,
all our governors,
you're telling
all
us
our governors, yes, the PDP has a crisis. Everybody knows that. It's in the open. You know, they have a crisis.
Some say yours might be a piece in the graveyard.
Not at all.
Perhaps, you know, we've been...
No, we don't have a piece of the graveyard because the people leading the APC and the president of this country, they are all Democrats. We know their credentials as Democrats. Buhari and Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our presidential candidate. They are thoroughbred Democrats who don't interfere or don't stop people from exercising their rights in politics. We know that. And that is why one of the best things Buhari has done for this country, you know, the meddlesomeness, for instance, of Obasanjo and the PDP in the 16 years. We don't have any of that in this country. So the issue of the silence of the graveyard does not arise. We don't have that in the country. You know, and definitely we don't have that in the APC.
Oh, okay. So let's begin to go into specifics. Kennedy, your presidential candidate has been all over the place. You know, each time you find him talking about figures, you know, doing comparative analysis and so on and so forth, talking about the need, you know, to move the country from consumption to production and all of that. Nigerians are very much interested in seeing how, you know, he intends to achieve some of these ideas he's putting forward. But we don't have a manifesto yet to check, you know, the deliverables and how he intends to do it. Perhaps you are with the party and you are very close to the candidate. Let's take issues, you know, one after the other. One of the issues he's been hammering on is perhaps the issue of poverty, hunger, and all of that. And that is the reason why he's talking about going to production rather than consumption. How is your party going to address this, as we move into this campaign?
Thank you, my dear brother. I want to correct your notion. Labour Party has a documented manifesto.
You did mention that
Are
earlier.
you a member of Labour Party?
You mentioned that earlier.
You are a media person. It's easy for you to go and look out for it and get a copy of Labour Party manifesto. We have a documented, in fact, the only political party in Nigeria that have a documented manifesto. Go and verify. Go and verify.
That is disputable.
What does it say?
Where is the manifesto of the APC?
Where is the manifesto of the Labour Party?
Where is the manifesto of all the political parties? But that's by the way.
Where's the
the question I asked is, you should be able to tell us some of the specifics.
I'm going to that.
Yes.
I'm responding to your question.
That's right.
Labour Party are inseparable with our presidential candidate. There is no separation between the Labour Party and Mr. Peter Obi and Dati Ahmed, who is championing this cause. Because of what my brother said, that the leader doesn't actually matter. What matters is the vision. Our vision is simple. There has been a lot of sharing formula in Nigeria. There has been a lot of consumption. Nigeria has been a consuming nation. And that simple analysis that was made, that has been always made by His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, is where we are driving to. Restoring Nigeria to Nigerians, bringing the country from their consumptive state to a productive stage. How? Simple. Through job-led economy. You know that a lot of people are out of job in Nigeria. The people that are even working, that is working here, sir, with due respect, are you remunerated in the level you are supposed to be remunerated? Because the institutions are not working. So the Labour Party, as an institutional political party, are coming to introduce a job-led economy. Secondly, to empower the entrepreneurs, to empower the private sector. There is no way, there is no reason why Trust TV should not be competing with NTA and channels. There is no way. There is no way that somebody producing akara on the street should not be competing with somebody producing bread because he works with the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry. There's no way. So, and most of the countries thriving in the world are built on the economies of these private sectors, are built on the economies of entrepreneurs. Go and verify. Check the thriving countries in the world.
We're verifying already.
Their entrepreneurs are the people driving the economies.
All right. Private sector led
let me give you the third point.
Okay.
I've mentioned job-led economy. I've mentioned empowering the
creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive.
Let our refinery work. Let the local industries work. I can mention many if you want.
Okay, let me take Dr. Demo on that. Talking about let the refinery work, for instance. That's their vision. They believe perhaps the state should continue to own and retain, the oil company, for instance. But I know your vision, your principal's vision, talking about Atiku Abubakar, is perhaps, to dispose some of these national assets like the NNPC, privatize them and what have you. Why do you think, privatization is the answer? Especially at this point, Nigerians are reflecting back to look at what happened, during the Obasanjo-Atiku era, where the power sector was privatized and what have you, and yet we're yet to get this power. $16 billion was said to have been freighted by the same PDP, and today you're talking about reviving this sector. How do you intend to do that?
With regard to the petroleum sector, the APC has already stolen our idea. Atiku Abubakar believes in a private sector-driven economy, and he has a clear steps on how to do that. When Labour Party says we are going to create jobs, but how? We are going to empower entrepreneurs. How? We are going to make refineries work. How? They are just good in talking about problems and just fantasy without
sharing. But he's talking about creating enabling.
Okay, so Atiku Abubakar came out with a clear plan on how to privatize and bring private sector participation in the petroleum sector. We've seen how the Nigerian government is spending 16 trillion in just a decade paying for petroleum subsidy. That's not sustainable. NNPC has been consuming so much resources as is not remitting enough revenue. So it's better to dispose it, to privatize it, give it in the hands of people who are capable of managing it. Refineries are not producing anything. We are spending a lot of millions on them. So it's huge loss. So I think the best way we have all their refineries that are working, all their refineries than Nigerian refineries, but they are working. So the idea is, Atiku Abubakar, fundamentally, he's different from all other candidates because he has specific plan. I know that you guys, you're rushing us in this, but he has clear manifesto on the steps for the way.
But
for the issue of power sector,
what are you bringing differently?
Sorry, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, you talk about power sector. Power sector reform, the privatization of the power sector.
Which the APC said was only procured darkness.
Nobody can give you that evidence of $16 billion that you talk about. There is no any evidence. Just as a hearsay, just a newspaper caption. But what I'm talking about, the improvement you are seeing in the power sector, the IPPs that you're seeing, the GENCOs that you're seeing, the distribution company that we are still talking about how to make them better, was initiated. It's a power sector reform that if it were implemented better, the way Atiku Abubakar has envisioned it, it wouldn't have been this. So now APC administration is also thinking of privatizing the transmission lines, which of course Atiku Abubakar will also want to do that. The idea is the government should be a supervisory, should be doing the supervisory role over the economy, but private sector should be empowered to manage almost every sector of the economy.
But even this point you are making, the ruling APC is also accusing your principle of, copying, if you like, literally what it is implementing in the area of, involving private sector in oil refining and what have you. He's talking about perhaps bringing in private sector, but the present administration is already working with operators of modular refineries.
He was almost crucified
the Dangote refinery, for instance, which is also a private sector driven investment.
Yeah, what I'm saying, but initiated by the government. So Dangote is an individual person that makes his decision to invest in refinery, but the government, from inside the government setting, now to bring private sector, that's what I'm talking about. The main point I'm talking about is for you to even build the economy, there has to be a country first. But what makes Atiku Abubakar different from all these vague manifestos is that he understood that. Me and him, we had argument, and it was later on that I get to understand him. He said, Ahmed, we have to unite this country first. Without unity, there is no economy. Without unity, there is no security. Without unity, there is nothing.
So what are you saying?
The fundamental thing we need to do in this country is to unite this country.
But you can only talk about unity when there is division. Are you saying that the country is divided?
Yes.
Along what lines now?
Exactly, and that's what this election represents. This election has manifested the deep division we have in this country. You see people aligning to candidate not based on vision, but based on sentiment. And the worst tragedy that can happen to us at this moment is to be guided by sentiment in the 2023 voting, because we've seen where sentiment has brought us over these years. So we have to vote for the unifier that will unify all these sentiments together.
Well, Bulama, all the issues that are being raised here are raised against the present administration. He was talking about a consuming economy and not a productive economy. Doctor is talking about a country that is disunited, and all is happening under this administration. Do you agree with their submissions? See,
I have to say, my younger brother here, Dr. Aliu Ahmed, is just grandstanding. He's just grandstanding. Atiku had a chance.
What do you mean by grandstanding?
Listen, Atiku had the chance to be vice president for 8 years. I agree he had no executive authority, which is a big minus for him anyway, But he was handed over our assets to privatize. One of the reasons, first of all, to raise money for the federal government to reprivatization of these assets. Secondly, to hand them over to the private sector to make them more efficient, to generate more jobs, and so on and so forth. Instead, the opposite happened. Because I will give you an example. The smelter company, Alscon, in Akwa Ibom, was built with $3.2 billion. They sold it for $150 million. The Ajakuta Steel Company, Nigeria spent $1.1 billion. obviously to their cronies. You know, obviously, I'm coming to that.
You have to respond to
yes,
that.
Yes, I have no problem with that. You know, now, not only have we lost our assets, our commonwealth as Nigerians, these privatized companies are now carcasses, 80% of them. And the president of a PDP president, President Jonathan, himself admitted that the privatization program of the PDP was a massive failure. You know, and his vice president, who that is Namadi Sambu, who was presiding over yes, which is a statutory responsibility of the vice president.
That's right.
Also said 80% of these companies that were privatized by a PDP government are all carcasses now. So the PDP doesn't have any moral ground.
There's no result. Is that what you are saying?
There's absolutely no result.
Out of the privatization that was driven by...
As a matter of fact, as you can see, the APC government just recently recouped the Ajakuta Steel Company, which was also sold for pittance by the Obasanjo Atiku government. Now, the federal government has now recovered that, after paying off some money to the Indians, who obviously were not ready. They just wanted to just pack all the factories back to India.
The PDP is still claiming, the glory, if you like, or the result that came out of the privatization of the telecommunications sector, for instance. Today, Nigerians are driving,
first of all,
are finding communication easier and affordable because of that.
That is very simple. At the beginning, there was never, the GSM revolution. The federal government didn't participate at all. So it was obvious that it would be private companies. And at any rate, even now, the fact still remains that there's a lot of inefficiency in the way and manner these telecommunication companies are providing services. Drop calls, we know all this. And that is because of the corruption.
So you're saying that there was no breakthrough, there was no result in that respect.
I'm not saying that there's no result.
Okay.
But we could have done a lot better. So, look, the APC, we have things to show for our 7 years in government. Yes.
Yeah, but here they are talking about the rising level of hunger, the rising insecurity, the declining economy.
First of all,
how do
we know that all economies in the world, American economy, the British economy, they are all declining. The dollar, the pound, I'm sure it's all over the news, you must have seen it, has been falling all over the place. So the British economy, the ones that we call the Sena climates, they are all in problem. So this is a global phenomenon. We are not saying, listen, let me learn.
Yes,
we are not saying that there are no problems. Obviously, there are problems. But you see, I will give you the analogy of Nigeria, because
analogy.
The PDP had dug us into a pit of maybe like 30, 50 feet. And what the APC has succeeded in doing is now bring us to the level because of the infrastructural achievements. There is no question that Buhari has done the best among all governments in Nigeria. In fact, all governments combined in Nigeria. They have not done as much as Buhari has done in all this. And then we have a presidential candidate who is a doer, who has a very clear record of achievement when he was governor of Lagos in 8 years.
Kennedy, you really want to respond. I understand. Looking at the issues he raised.
The result is 7 months of ASU strike. The results are, like you mentioned, increasing hunger in the land. The results are all the fuel.
By saying it's a global phenomenon.
No, let me tell you. Why is a global phenomenon? We can't continue to be crying over COVID-19, for goodness sake. Why is it that in 2022, people still do their visa to run to US, where he's saying that the COVID affected everybody, it's affected every country? Why? Because the welfare of their citizens doesn't deteriorate. Any other thing can go down. But please listen to me.
That flies against the reality.
It's on the floor now. It's evidential now in this studio that PDP is pointing at APC, APC is pointing at PDP. I am an umpire here. Listen to me. Let me tell you this.
Not an umpire. You are an interested party. You want to rule Nigeria. Tell us what you can do differently.
These two political parties are the same.
Well,
and Nigerians have said no to them.
They
should take it to the
Let
bank.
me get your
Nigerians have said no to
perspective.
them.
He's accusing them of failed privatization.
Yes.
They are also accusing the
How can you be accusing
present
a political
administration
party,
of inefficiency and lack of
some years,
what will the Labour Party do differently, for
Yes.
instance? We're talking about
Yes.
the energy sector, for
Yes.
instance. What's your vision? What's the Labour Party vision around
no reason whatsoever Nigeria should be producing
driving the energy sector?
By Saturday will be 62 years. There is no reason whatsoever Nigeria should be producing anything less than 50,000 megawatts.
How can we produce?
But now what we have
How
is
do we
just
do it?
4,000.
What are the parameters Labour Party is setting to change the narrative?
We have to strengthen the generations. There is renewable energy that we have to take advantage of. Yes, in Africa, in Nigeria, we have massive sunlight. There is need for massive investment in the renewables. And I'm telling you...
Investment by the government or a private sector-led investment?
Government, there is what we call public-private partnership. Our party is not interested in selling off the asset of the country. Every asset of the country is a pride to that country. Rather, you bring professionals, your human resources that you have built and developed over the years, harness them, bring them together with government, create a good policy, create a good investment destination in the country that will make these people to come and invest in your country, not selling it out. Why are we selling our national assets?
Okay.
Why?
Why
are we selling our national assets?
Okay, the onus is now on you. And then looking back at what has been sold earlier, Bulama is raising concerns around giving them at almost a giveaway price. He was also talking about these are part of the allegations over the years that most of this interest, if you like, or assets were sold to cronies and what have you, instead of the real people who can drive it. Take for instance the power sector. Today the concern among experts is that if it were actually sold to industry players, who have the capacity, to turn it around, it would have been a different story. How would you respond to this?
Yeah, first, people need to understand the messengers before they could understand the message better. When you hear anything coming from the APC or Labour Party, you have to understand their motive.
What's the
all
motive?
Governed by sentiment. If you look at APC, for example, I was embarrassed when Mr. Bulama is talking about the current administration, or current president, because for me, the worst president Nigeria has produced in recent years is President Buhari.
Why?
And that's the best president APC could ever produce.
Why did you say so? When there are a number of people
more people
in the
have
party.
been killed under his administration more than any other administration. Now, you cannot travel Abuja, Kaduna safely. I cannot travel to my home state, Katsina. People are being killed. I'm coming
even
just
the
a moment.
figures
Just a moment.
Even the impression you are given, can you substantiate it with figures? Because we all know that there was also security issues.
When we handed over to them, inflation was 9%. Now, do you know how much is inflation now?
It's a global phenomenon.
Who caused it? Inflation, unemployment.
I'm on inflation. Let me take on that. Yes, you're talking about inflation at 9%.
I didn't say a word when you were
and then today it is at 20%.
Let me finish.
But you also know that there are drivers. There is reason for the inflation. It's largely food induced. It's a food inflation, and that's the reason why it is rising. And we all know perhaps the reason why
for anything bad. You as a leader, it's not your role to give people excuse. You have to fix it.
Okay, how can we fix it? How can we fix it? For instance, looking at the present realities.
They could not fix it. So you want us to look into our manifesto, which is where I'm going. Going to the Labour Party, I can go ahead and cram so many figures, statistics. If I know I'm an orator, I can talk to people and they cheer me and clap me. I want to vote for you. That's right. But for me, these two parties, I look at them as one. So PDP is different because these people are governed by sentiment.
How is PDP different?
I'm coming. That's where I'm going. If you have a party like Labour Party running on religion or ethnicity somebody is saying it's our turn, you know that this country we're in trouble. That is why I always love Atiku's message that say, I am the unifier. He wants to divide us. They want to divide us. I want to unite us. And that's why Atiku Abubakar came out with five.
I don't want us to derail from the issue.
Now coming to the question, I'm going to talk to you about 5-point agenda that will address all
Let's
these
address
issues.
this issue of private sector.
Private sector. Now,
the
let me tell you,
privatization,
telecommunication
which was handled largely by
telecommunication. Now, all of them, they have either MTN, Glo, or whatever. Who did that? Atiku Abubakar was the one that introduced debit card. If you want to get money for yourself, you have to go to the bank counter to get the money. Atiku Abubakar was the one who introduced debit card and credit card that we are using. He was the one that introduced GSM that we are using. He was the one that transformed the generation sector of the power sector. And he was the one who drafted the agenda of the economy. And that is why
he's on the floor.
Even as a vice president, and now with this huge experience, somebody who has managed huge and international businesses, someone who can manage human resources and financial resources, there is no better candidate to lead this country at this moment as that kind
But
of
how do you explain this? Because we have to look at the current trajectory. We have to look at the current trajectory. For instance, he's talking about what is coming out of the power sector privatization. I ask this question because it has been a recurring concern about those that have, about the amount at which some of those assets were sold, and about who was actually sold to.
Okay, let me tell you. Now, let's take an example of refinery. Do you know that it's more expensive to refine 1 barrel of crude oil in Kaduna than to import it from America? Which kind of buyer? Listen, let me tell you. Which kind of buyer will buy that kind of refinery at that kind of state? So if I'm buying this refinery, you have to discount it to me because I have to pay for fixing it so that I can pay back what I invested in that. So you cannot just say, okay, this refinery, Kundo refinery, if it is a brand new refinery, it will be 100 billion.
But the question is,
and now you are selling it at current
selling assets belonging to Nigerians to people who have no capacity to drive it.
See, Atiku Abubakar did not sell a refinery.
And we're not talking about refinery. We're talking about
give me example of
the power sector privatization.
The power sector privatization, let me tell you, initially when power sector was privatized, our generation capacity was not up to 3,000. But now we have more than 15,000 generation capacity.
What about distribution?
I'm taking the distribution sector. We're supposed to have capable hands that are supposed to. I also fault that because it was not sold, but it wasn't Atiku himself that sold to this individual. But Atiku Abubakar has a vision that says we have to also privatize the mid segment of the transmission line, which is the transmission line, and which is the mistake. The implementation, the government that came after that could not do. If Atiku Abubakar was to continue after that, he will have privatized the transmission line. So you did nothing when you privatized the generation, but you cannot evacuate. Now we have huge generation capacity.
So you agree there were lapses in the transaction and of course getting the right people.
Mind you, and it's something that Atiku Abubakar is coming to do to make it better.
Okay, Bulama, do you agree that it's going to make it better? He is also talking about when he comes aboard selling the oil company and what have you.
Let me tell you, PDP has no moral ground. They have no moral standing to tell Nigerians anything about fixing our economy. Because they were the ones who put us in this hole in the first place. 15 years to waste, $16 billion on electricity. Listen.
But they are perhaps Buhari with refresh ideas.
Buhari with $2 billion. The Siemens Nigeria agreement, government to government, is going to solve a lot of problems. By this time next year, our capacity to generate, transmit, and distribute will improve. We have all seen with our own eyes all the equipment already coming in. I'm not talking in a vacuum. We have seen it. Every day we see this coming. That is for electricity.
Yeah, but the problem is that
the PDP
today we're still having frequent grid collapse.
Yes, of course.
That's
why I'm facing it. I'm telling you. But for the COVID pandemic intervention, we'll already have been seeing results.
Kennedy has been talking about COVID. Why always COVID?
Because that's a reality. It's a reality that has affected the world.
Okay, very quickly.
Yes, on this issue about, like I said, they just say. They don't even know That's where I agree with Doctor about the fact that they just keep saying because let me land. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party went to Egypt to see what we are already doing in Nigeria. What Egypt did is to get Siemens, the same Siemens that has improved the capacity of Egypt to generate more electricity.
Are you saying those travels are just jamboree?
Exactly.
Okay, let's get Kennedy very quickly.
If you are the umpire here, you've asked us a series of questions.
That's right.
In terms of practical steps.
Solutions to our problem.
I've given you 2 solutions on how to resolve the poor sector. They've not made any point.
We're already doing it. What is there to make a point about?
Sorry.
The APC government is already doing it.
Okay, allow him to. He's actually on the floor, really.
You see, I'm just inspecting them in this panel.
Yes, Kennedy.
I've given you 2 good practical steps.
Renewable energy, solar
and expanding
energy.
our generation, our dams, the capacity of our dams. I've mentioned them here. What have they said? The Article 5-point agenda. What is the step-by-step on achieving this sector? What is the step-by-step? Wait, you are not giving me much time.
Go ahead.
You understand? Rather, they kept pointing at each other. And that is why I've come to tell you here this evening that Nigerians have seen it all. Nigerians knows that PDP and APC are the same. Who is the national chairman of APC today? 8 years governor of PDP. Who is the presidential candidate of PDP today? The man that told Nigeria that the solution to Nigeria is Buhari.
And who is the presidential candidate?
What's the separation? Are they the presidential? I like this.
Also tell him that.
No. I like this. Two of them have responded.
We have to go.
Two of them have responded.
We'll get another time. No, I want to hear what you say. Please finish that one. Finish that one very quickly.
Truly, you are not giving me much attention.
Okay.
The truth, I can't say much that Nigerians have rejected APC and PDP. And you will see that in 2020 general election.
Okay, thank you very much. We have to go, but then we hope to also come back some other time to look at the manifestos very clearly. By the time the Labour Party and the APC perhaps must have thrown their blueprints in the public domain, we will look at them side by side. Thank you very much,
thank you, Shafiu.
for talking to us. Dr. Mohammed Bulama is a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for your perspectives. We also had Dr. Ahmed Adamu, who is the essay to Atiku Abubakar on youth and strategy. We appreciate your inputs. And Prince Kennedy Ahanoto is the Deputy National Secretary of the Labour Party.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. On behalf of the guests and the technical crew, this is where we come to the end of this conversation. Join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another interesting topic and personalities. Until then, I'm Shafiu Suleiman. Enjoy the rest of your day.